My name is Paul. I'm 26 years old. I live in northern Germany and am probably the last person you would believe a ghost story. I am afflicted with schizophrenia, an often misunderstood mental illness, which causes your senses to play tricks on you. You see, hear, and sometimes even smell things that simply are not there. I am certain that the thing that has started following me a month ago is not a hallucination, but I would never blame anyone for doubting this. The way my disorder plays out is very different from everyone that is afflicted by it. For me, it started when I was 10 years old. It was then that I started seeing people without faces. By now, I know they're not real and have gained a lot of control over my mind. But back when it first started, and especially for a 10-year-old kid, it was a confusing and terrifying experience. My first thought was that these are demons who are haunting me. I was afraid that something was wrong with me or that I was evil, which made me suffer in silence for a long time. My father is a very religious, spiritual, and highly ambitious man. When I finally managed to gain the courage to tell him my symptoms, he called my hallucinations visions and told me I was chosen by God. He and his community abused my gift for profit and status. They told people that the faceless entities I was seeing were spirits and sold my mental illness as a spiritual experience. Many people bought into these delusions, me unfortunately being one of them. As the faceless people showed up more and more frequently, my grip on reality got weaker every day. The result of my father's power trip and his more than questionable parenting techniques was my first psychotic episode, during which I was completely separated from reality and fully believed I was a prophet sent to Earth by God. Eventually, my father's lust for power destroyed their cult, and their community collapsed. He abandoned me immediately, and I finally stopped believing his lies. My mother took me in, even though I called her a blasphemer and cut all contact with her just a month ago, when she suggested that I might talk to a therapist. She sent me to an incredible psychologist and taught me critical thinking skills. Finally, I began to understand the difference between things that are possible and things that are impossible. Although the things I see and hear still very much are real to me, I slowly managed to get connected to reality again. It was then that I was officially diagnosed with schizophrenia. I was 14 years old and had to deal with what most people would consider the worst nightmare: not being able to trust your own mind. Every single thing I see or hear, I have to question. Without the skills and abilities my mother and years of therapy have taught me, and without her limitless patience and acceptance, I undoubtedly would have spiraled into a deeper and deeper psychosis. I soon found out what the end of that spiral looks like. Since schizophrenia is hereditary, I asked around my family whether anyone had experienced similar things, and sure enough, someone had. My grandmother told me about someone in our family who got left behind in the Netherlands when they immigrated to Germany, my great-uncle Lars. No one in my family ever talked about him before, and I doubt many even know his name. At the time, neither the understanding nor the medication existed that he desperately needed. He ended his life when he was 22, alone, insane, and terrified. As I got better, I refused to end up like him or to define myself through my illness. Through a lot of hard work and after many terrifying nights, I built myself a strong support system of friends, found a loving and wonderful girlfriend, and am heading down an exciting career path. I'm happy to say that since my first one at 14 years old, I have not had a single psychotic break. I'm telling you all of this so you know that I'm not some complete nutcase with no connection to reality, as us schizophrenics are often portrayed in the media. I need you to believe me. I need somebody to believe me. Even though I understand why they won't, because a month ago, I've started seeing something new. The first time I saw him, he was in me and my girlfriend's garden. It was late in the evening, and we were about to go to bed. I was preparing my medication calendar for the week when I spotted something in the corner of my eye. Outside our bedroom window, in a bush in our garden, a face was staring at me. I immediately recoiled. While I still occasionally hallucinate, even with the shit ton of antipsychotic medication I'm on, I have never, ever seen a face before. My girlfriend noticed me quietly staring out the window and asked me what's wrong. I asked her whether she sees someone out in our garden. She looked through the window for a long time, checking the entirety of our property before telling me that she couldn't see anyone. When I checked again, he was gone. I locked the door to ease my paranoia and tried to convince myself that nothing was wrong, but the terror wouldn't leave me. They had never had a face. Ever since then, he came back, again and again. In the beginning, I only saw him at night, and infrequently at that, but now I saw him everywhere, all the time, every day. Always from a distance, and always staring straight at me. Even when I was out with friends for coffee, I could find him someplace where only I could see him. I tried showing him to other people. I tried taking a picture of him. But whenever anyone but me attempted to see him, or I tried to take a picture, he disappeared. This has never happened with any of my other delusions. When I'm unsure whether what I'm seeing is a hallucination or not, I always just take a photo. Obviously, hallucinations can't be photographed, and seeing that they're not in the pictures allows me to be 100% confident that they are not real. But he seems to know when someone else but me could potentially see him, and avoids it like the plague. In a desperate attempt, I carefully tried to bring up the possibility that he might be real to my girlfriend, but she just looked at me with a worried look, and I knew it was hopeless. Same with my friends. Everyone just assumed I was heading straight down a new psychotic episode. Tired of the worried looks my friends kept giving me, I stopped talking about him. But I knew they could still see me seeing him, not paying proper attention, staring at something no one else could see but me. My career, my personal life, and my relationship all suffered greatly. I couldn't concentrate and had frequent panic attacks. His face was all I could think about. Everything I worked so hard to gain was slipping away from me. I felt alienated, hopeless, and worst of all, entirely alone. Eventually, it became clear to me that no matter what this thing is, it can never be as horrifying as the future that awaits me if I continue down this path. I decided to confront it. A week ago, I searched for him outside the window of our bedroom. I had no trouble finding him. There he was in the same bush I first saw him in. I told my girlfriend that I needed some fresh air and would go on a walk. She was about to protest but stopped herself. Instead, she just sighed and told me to be careful. The worry in her voice was obvious. After going outside, I waited until the lights in our bedroom window switched off before heading into our garden. He was still there, in the bush, looking straight at me, as always. Adrenaline was rushing through my body. I could feel my heart beating fast in my chest and sweat rolling down my face, even while standing in our snow-coated garden. But I knew I couldn't live like this any longer, and that thought was enough to overcome my intense terror. As I got closer, I managed to get a better look at him for the first time. He looked younger than me, and was wearing ragged, cheap-looking clothes. When I was less than 2 meters away from him, he moved back a bit into the bushes. The expression on his face surprised me. It seemed insecure, almost frightened. He opened his mouth and said something I didn't understand. He sounded drunk. None of my hallucinations have ever spoken before. I asked him to repeat himself, and when he spoke again, I realized he wasn't drunkenly slurring his speech as I had first thought. He was speaking Danish. Confusion managed to overpower my fear. I slowly asked him who he is in German, hoping that the German words are similar to the Danish ones, never having learned the language myself. He pointed at himself and spoke more Danish. I only understood the last word he said, but that was enough. Lars. Sudden, extreme, personally unprecedented relief came over me as I broke down crying in front of my dead great-uncle. Of course, the possibility still exists that all of this is just another hallucination, but ever since our meeting, that thought has left my mind completely. I don't care whether he's probably real or not, because I'm not afraid of him anymore. Whenever I see his face now, I feel oddly calm. I don't think he's following me to scare me. I doubt he even realizes how horrifying he made my last month. I'm pretty sure he sought me out, so I would never have to feel as alone as he did in his life. I have started learning Danish, and once I speak it fluently, I hope that I'll be able to return the favor and show him what it's like not to feel alone as well.